So firstly, a big welcome to BCS here in London today, and thank you all for coming. Today this is the first, our inaugural event of bringing employers, recruiters, people who run return programs, boot camps, and people who've been through those boot camps as well together. And we hope that this will be something that we can take on tour around the country. So thank you all for joining. We've got 3 panels today. This is the first one, and I'll take this moment to introduce each member of the panel, but I have to put my glasses on because I can't read it all. So first we have Natasha. She's the Deputy Director of Digital Diagnostic and Treatment at the NHS Digital. Natasha has over 20 years experience in digital, undertaking both operational and management roles at a senior level. Natasha graduated at Imperial College London and the NHS Digital Academy. She's currently leading a delivery of NHS England digital and diagnostic programs across the South East region, including digital diagnostics, frontline digitalisation, and FDP. You may need to explain what that is in a minute. Natasha has a special interest in women in technology and supporting and encouraging young women to all get interested in STEM roles. Natasha is passionate about using technology to transforming healthcare and improving women's health, which is why she's a trustee of BPAS, who will support women's choices. And next to me, I have Holly, who's the Managing Director at the BCS, which supports the development of the competent, ethical and inclusive technology professionals. She works both with individuals and organisations who are members and volunteers in over 100 regional and specialist interest groups. Her focus is to help members drive their professional development and shape their future of technology as part of the BCS membership. This starts with the students' apprentices and developing digital skills throughout the technology leadership. And on my other side, I have Sarah Hayden from IT Services at Companies House. Sarah's worked in the public sector for 30 years, much of it in local government and recently in the civil service in a variety of IT, operational and strategic roles. Sarah has an extensive experience in leading successful multi-million-pound digital change management programs and excels at developing services, strategy and policy, formulating innovative solutions, and basically excels at developing services and strategies. Sarah is committed to providing excellent digital services and extremely passionate about integrating young people and encouraging women into the digital workspace. And from our conversation that we had previously, you were on one of the first ever government schemes, which those of us who are older enough will know about, the youth training scheme, commonly known as the YTS.
I was indeed.
So apprenticeships do work. And last but not least, Mark, who's the Group Sales Director of Outsource UK. Mark has 20 years industry experience and joined Outsource in 2016. He is responsible for working with customers to shape handcrafted and inclusive workforce solutions that meet their strategic talent and business objectives. Mark is passionate about the future of work and regularly hosts roundtables throughout leadership events in technology, HR, talent, diversity and procurement leaders on topical matters that are aimed at creating a forum for collaborative learning. So, welcome everyone. And then I'd just like to say that, I am the chair of BCS Women, and we've brought this event on because we've heard from our members how important it is to try and join the dots. Lots of people don't know quite where to go when they're returning, what skills they need, what policies are getting in the way. So this is the reason behind us putting this event on. We've also had a number of people who said they've started returner programs or attended boot camps, and as a consequence, they're still stranded and don't quite know where to go from there. So hopefully we will answer some of those questions for you all today and hopefully point you in the right direction. So the first question is actually to you, Natasha. So why is it important to help people transition into tech?
I think it's important to help.
This press.
I think you could have heard me anyway, but I've got a big mouth. I think it's important because at the moment we've got a huge shortage in digital skills and digital roles. So there's a massive demand for new people coming in. I think it's an exciting time as well. I think we've got an opportunity where for digital, there's much more sort of diverse roles coming in. So you don't have to be super technical to be coming in or excited about technology. But if you have got technical skills, that helps. So for me, there's such a big gap that needs filling. And at the moment, we don't have people coming in. So there's a real big challenge around retaining the staff we've got, but a massive drive now around recruitment. So I think there's great opportunities for people who are excited about technology, excited about change, excited about transformation. We all probably like digital tools that we use, but it's about how do we get the workforce who are trained up or who we can train up to come and help us deliver some of that change, especially for me working in NHS. We have massive demand for digital skills. In fact, we've identified by, I think it's 2030, that we probably need 30,000 extra roles. And that's roles in terms of new roles coming in, upskilling staff we've already got. So there's a massive demand because the future is technology. We all know that we are becoming more and more digitized. So we do have that massive sort of gap. So I think for people who are looking to transition into IT, this is the right time.
Does anyone else want to? You're nodding away there, Sarah.
Yeah.
I think as well with all the exciting sort of innovations coming through, we're all hearing about AI, aren't we? And use of robotics and what have you. So again, it's sort of adapting and changing landscape that's presented to us. It's just a very exciting time. So I agree, Natasha.
So one other thing, I think the other thing people forget about technology, they think it's all very techy. Half the time I spend my life problem solving. So if you're a good problem solver, you know, and you've got a bit of creative thinking, I think then this is something that you might want to consider as a role.
And I think, you know, when you're returners, it's really important to think about what skills have you learned whilst you've been away from the industry or away from the workforce. You know, for me, I've had a whole career in tech, but I never studied tech at university, but I have been a programmer. I learned on the job how to do those things. So yeah, don't be frightened. My first degree was in biochemistry and my second was in psychology. Yeah, I've had a whole career in tech. So yeah, I think it's really important that you don't you know, narrow yourself and say, I can't do that. And a lot of people who returners, whether you're a carer for an elderly relative or whether you're a carer of a child, you learn so many different skill sets that you can then apply to the workforce that people need. It's program management at the end, or basic project management skills. And if you can do those things in your day life, you know, home life, you can do it elsewhere.
I'll just echo what Natasha said there. You, from a recruitment perspective, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. Companies are now looking at more and more people from outside of core traditional technology backgrounds. So we've got customers at the moment who are looking at focusing on their operations staff to go, what other areas can we put them into? Just data, for example, being one of the core areas where we've seen that particularly prevalent.
One of the things that we have at BCS is a skills framework called Skills for the Information Age. So that defines the different specialisms in tech, but actually it's deliberately a skills-based framework, and you can create roles from it because it's the skills and the blend of the different things that are required for a whole host of different roles. And I don't think there is a standard role these days. And actually, the human skills, as we're calling them, are the areas that are being dialed up more and more in the recruitment process. And I think it's really important that we help to get that message out and help people build confidence and create resources so that people can develop themselves as a professional, but not just purely from a technical perspective, by creating networks, talking to other people, and also sort of taking that initiative for yourself to just keep curious, keep interested, and look at the resources that are available to you through a whole host of different sources such as BCS, but there are lots of others out there too.
Yeah, and people skills are going to be vital. If you've got good people skills, you can't be replaced by an AI bot. So you get to a brick wall after a while. We've all been there on those phones. But the next question is to you, Mark. What more do employers need to do to support returners, and bootcamp learners? That they've taken the initiative to go away and do these things, and help them come into the business and have a sort of soft landing, as opposed to, oh my God, where do I go from here?
I suppose if there's one thing that employers could do, it would probably be to put themselves in the shoes of the person who's just about to join their organization. Lots of companies have the best ambitions and do the right thing at heart, but they don't necessarily think of all the scenarios that someone who's returning to the work could be going through. So take the time to actually put yourself in the shoes of the new starter who's going to be returning to work. They might have not worked for 3 years, 5 years. You can understand that they would be nervous after that amount of time out. So take the time to put yourself in those shoes. And if you're the returner yourself, don't be afraid to ask those employers questions. There's no stupid questions. And I think sometimes people can, there's an onus on both parties here to come together and meet in the middle. So the employer needs to ask questions to what more can they do to make the worker feel comfortable, and equally the worker should ask absolutely everything they want. If you're 99% sure going into a job, that's not 100%. So ask that 1% question that you don't know the answer to, because if you feel comfortable to work, you'll give the best version of yourself.
Thank you. Does anyone else?
Just like to say as well, it's not just the employer choosing you, you are choosing the employer. So, ask some really, really good questions at the end of the interview that you really want to get out of that employer to make sure that the organisation's right for you as well.
Just going to say just one point. I mean, one of the things I love is when people ring me up. If I put a job out there, I want someone to call me and just understand a little bit more about the role. Don't go in blind. So if you have the opportunity to speak to the potential recruiter, I would suggest you do so. Also, do a bit of research on the company, see what the culture's like, because like you said, it's about bringing your whole self to work. So if the culture of that organisation doesn't resonate with you, then potentially you're not going to have a great time there. So look at the company. There is a bit of an onus on you doing a bit of research yourself to make sure you're going into the right thing, you've got the right support, and like you said, ask the right questions. I definitely think it is a two-way thing. Don't be passive in this. This is your career. So take a bit of a grip on it.
Thank you. And I would say, look and ask questions, because a lot of companies nowadays are saying they're doing lots of work in the DE&I space, but actually scratch the surface, ask a question about that. 9 times out of 10, their employers don't actually know anything about it. It's just something that's on their website. So please make sure that they really do stand up and hold them accountable for what they're actually saying, because otherwise you're going to end up somewhere that you're not going to be totally happy with.
I think that's a really important one you've hit there, Andrew. Lots of people, just as Andrew just said, do scratch the surface, and it looks great putting D&I on your website or IND on their website. And to be really honest, it comes across like they're ticking a box. And to Andrew's point, if you actually push them on it and you ask them to evidence what have they done, I suspect in many cases you might get lots of but bear with me, let me get back to you on that. I laugh, it's not a funny matter. So do ask them to evidence what you're doing to give everyone the opportunity to be the best person for the job, why you're different. this was just saying is that why should I come and work for you? So building on that, it's a two-way street theme, really.
Thank you. There's actually another question for you, Mark. I didn't really mix them up enough, sorry. How do you recruitment agencies ensure that it's not a tick box exercise? What are you guys doing? So it is building on that.
Question. I think what it's down to companies to do if they want to be inclusive, it's down to them to recruitment businesses to actually live and breathe what they're saying they do. And I think it's probably fairly easy for whether you're a candidate or a client to get to the bottom of, is a company really passionate about this subject? Have a good look around your website. It's just been explored. But I think there's an onus on the recruitment businesses to challenge their customers on how they are doing it on behalf of themselves and their candidates. Because if a company says we want to build an inclusive and diverse workforce, then as the recruiter, you can help your candidates by understanding what it is that they're doing. Lots of people, again, just do say they're doing it, and you scratch the surface and you go, we're not actually doing anything. Just to answer Andrew's question, as a business outsource, our purpose is to eliminate bias, privilege, and inequality in talent engagement. That, just to be clear, it doesn't mean we're perfect. We make lots of mistakes, probably every day. I don't like saying that, but we're human. We do make mistakes, but we try and challenge the status quo by asking our customers, what are you trying to achieve? How can we play a part in you supporting it? And sometimes you have to push back on them because they don't always get it right. And in their desire to build an inclusive workforce, they're often in a rush to do it. And that rushing can sometimes lead them to make some bad mistakes in terms of how they create an inclusive process for all. So working in partnership with your clients is the big thing. You need to understand that what they're trying to achieve.
Irene, it's not, it's fine.
I'll take that as an agreement. But challenging your customers so that you can really understand what they're trying to achieve and so that you can show them in the best possible light, providing they've genuinely got that positive story to tell. And lots do have a positive story to tell, just not all.
Thank you. Okay. Next question to you, Sarah. What are you looking for in a candidate moving or pivoting into tech from a different discipline?
I'd say probably one of the most important ones that many people can easily adapt if coming back in would be around communication. So obviously presenting yourself on paper in your CV or your application form initially, and being really succinct and clear in how you communicate, I think really does come across then when you then come in and have an interview, because basically that's the sort of individual that we're looking for, because you will very often be presented with a customer and it may be a technical problem that they're experiencing that you then need to discuss with the technical colleagues and present those solutions back. So someone who is able to easily and comfortably communicate with customers would be ideal. Again, going down the communication, you know, less jargon, acronyms. Sorry, looking at you, Natasha in the NHS, who love an acronym. So yeah, so just be really clear, because not everybody understands what those acronyms are, or they could mean many multiple things as well. So being really good on the communication. I think as well, another thing I look for is that authenticity as well. You know, be true to yourself, be honest. You know, if you are coming back into either technology or you've not worked in technology before, you know, it's how you best present yourself and adapt the skills that you have to be able to meet the job specification or the advert of the type of role that we're going out for. I also think as well, from a technology perspective, and we've already sort of mentioned, you know, we're not expecting highly qualified techies, but we are looking for people who are able to look at a problem and problem solve and be able to sort of translate that back, as I say, in solutions to customers. And there are lots of, whether it be college courses, so short college courses that can bring those skills up. There's boot camps that's been mentioned. Some of the big players like Microsoft offer online training and certification, as do AWS, Amazon Web Services. So there's sort of lots of certifications, online courses that can quite often be free as well, just to sort of give you something to be able to apply for the role. But also let's be mindful as well that you don't always have to be a techie, so to speak. There's roles within service management particularly. So you could be a business relationship stakeholder individual who works in the organisation for IT, but obviously crosses over into the business. You know, release management, config management. There's lots of roles within IT that you can very easily adapt into. And then the last point I'd like to make as well is energy, you know, presenting yourself, being energetic, you know, bringing your personality out, whether that be within your CV or during an interview as well. Because again, people like enthusiastic individuals, positive individuals. And, you know, the main thing about working in digital and technology is that change piece, isn't it? So, you know, we need to be adaptable, we need to change, and we need to get excited by that change as well. You know, we've got to then play that back to our customers that are going to be using those solutions. So those are the sort of skills that I personally look at if I'm sat on an interview panel.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'm just going to build here. I was just going to build on that energy point, really. Turn it off and turn it on again.
Number one skill.
Number one skill. So, you know, it's about presenting yourself, but also showing that enthusiasm and curiosity. And I think one of the things that networks like BCS can do, or any network really, is if you can go and show that you're out, you've talked to different people, you've heard their stories, you're out, you're learning. It's about that character and about somebody who's going to want to ask questions, be curious, build relationships, and maybe sort of step up and try something a bit different. I mean, there are lots of different groups where you can informally join a committee or support the social media role. You don't have to be hugely experienced, and it is just about taking those steps in your professional journey, but just thinking about how to build your personal network that can be really useful as well, and a really good reference point.
I think one other part is when you are applying, especially if you've been out for a while, is look at the job description and look at your skills and signpost it. Make it easier for the people who are doing the selection process to see, this matches up, because they're looking at hundreds of CVs and they don't actually have time to go through it. So make it easy and say, pick out the bits that they've said are key and essential things and show people where you've got that experience. And it doesn't matter, as I said, it doesn't have to be that you've got that experience in tech. It can be from any place.
Can I just add one bit? Natasha said earlier about phoning. I think you said you like getting a phone call. If you're a recruiter, there's nothing better than getting a phone call from a candidate who phones up and goes, I've seen this job. I really want that job. What more do you want to know? Because Andrew, you just alluded to it. As recruiters, if you put out a job advert, your inbox gets deluged, and it is simply impossible to call and pick up with everyone. There wouldn't be the time in the day. So if there's a job you see that you like, whoever the recruiter is, do pick up the phone to them, send them an email that make yourself stand out from the crowd, because it can be a competitive market. And I think it also helps show that you really want the job, and that automatically will kind of get the recruiter's ears, I suspect.
Just got a quick one. I think the last thing, and everything everyone said is right, is about being open. because I think people come in thinking this is the role for me and I can only do this one thing. So I think if you can be open about your skills, and I think, like you said, using the Sapphire Skills Network, it almost gives you a choice of, okay, I might want to be a data analyst, but actually I could also be a business analyst. I could be a number of different things. So don't pigeonhole yourself into something. I think trying to be a little bit open and a bit flexible, because with technology, once you get into it and you get the training, you can then move around. So go in for something you think, well, actually, I can be a bit flexible. May not be 100% perfect, but it's enough to keep me interested. I'm excited. I'm learning new things and all the training I could get. But there's definitely going to be career progression. So think about your stepping stones as well. So this might be your way in, but you know there's a way up, if you see what I'm saying.
Thank you. So my next question is to you, Holly. And I don't always like, well, I try to avoid politics, but I think it's really important that, we know that we got a new government coming in this year. And what can they do to help, upskill tech people? I know that the BCS has been going around to all the parties saying that we need to do things, but I think people need to hear that, we're not just silent in what we're doing at the BCS, that we are very active in what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, one of the things that we do as a professional body is we convene lots of different groups together, and it's not just what we think, it's about collectively getting the views of our members and what do they think that's going to be important. So at the moment we are thinking about our manifesto for the next government, which is around 3 areas. Firstly, around really recognising technology as a profession so that everybody can be proud of it. I mean, you wouldn't let a plumber in your house who wasn't qualified. And I think there are just so many fantastic people in tech careers with skills who don't have the recognition that they deserve. And it's probably the time now to recognise it as a profession. So that's the first point. And it's about that ethical competence and accountability for what you're doing. So it's about the character that we've been talking about, really wanting to do a good job on getting that recognition. But I think the pipeline is hugely important, the pipeline into technology. We believe that everybody deserves a world-class computing education and strong levels of digital literacy. I think digital divide is the new inequality. That's what we've been saying. And so what we've been doing over the past few months is really trying to highlight some of the challenges so that we've got the statistics to back up what we're saying. And we recently did a report based on the ONS statistics, looking at a number of women coming into tech roles. And to get gender equality in tech, it's going to take 300 years at the rate of growth at the moment. I mean, there are varying different lots of statistics that you can look at. So I think some are as low as 16% and some are as high as 22%. But whichever it is, the answer is that it's not enough. It's not representative. And when people are, looking at coding systems that are going to make decisions about us, you need that it's fully representative of the society that we're living in. So that's something we feel really, really strongly in terms of giving that opportunity to everybody. So that's and then also looking at the education pipeline and making sure that we've got the right balance of digital literacy in schools, as well as the computing curriculum, so that it makes it easier for people to change or to take some of those opportunities further down the career path, even if they haven't done computing right the way through. So those are just some of the things that we're looking at. And I think, we do have an opportunity, we do have a role and a duty, if you like, as part of our charitable purpose to champion and promote computing and make sure that there's a strong talent pipeline. So that's very much what we believe strongly in, and, making sure that our members' views are represented in that as well. And so we would like to see more formal schemes. We'd like to see a holistic view of the pipeline all the way through, rather than just, isolated interventions that maybe then just shift the problem a bit further down the line. But I think there are lots of strong voices in that. So I've got high hopes for the future.
Thank you. Okay, Natasha. Diversity isn't just about gender, it includes ethnicity, LGBT, plus social economical factors, neurodiversity. How can we be more inclusive and create an industry where everyone feels they belong and included?
So for me, I think it starts with how we recruit people. So I know this is something Matt and I have briefly spoken about, so I'm hoping I'm not stealing your thunder. But from an employer point of view, we are not the best at putting out job descriptions that are open enough. So it'll put people off because they're not particularly good at writing good job descriptions. So I think there's a bit of work on employers to make that better. Maybe we can work with recruiters to support that. Also around panels, again, they need to be more diverse. And I think to the point that you've just raised, Holly, around we in the NHS, we've just undertaken what we call a digital census about what our workforce is. So where our gaps are, who we have at all different levels. And it's quite shocking the levels we've got. So we know where our gaps are, or we will know have much better detail, but we don't want to say, oh, well, we must only have women of this ethnicity and this neurodiverse person. What we need to do is say, this is the kind of role we've got here. We are open to anybody. We need to make it really, really open so that more people from diverse backgrounds apply for the role in the first place. So people come to us and they think, oh, they look at certain things saying, I must be a member of this, or I must have this qualification, therefore I won't apply. And although the person and job spec is specific, maybe we can do a bit of work on that to make it a little bit more adaptable and flexible. I think organisations, and I think this has happened through COVID, so this is one of the good things that did come out of COVID, is that we are much more flexible about the way we work. And I think that definitely encourages and opens up opportunities for people. I think there's training, and I know that the NHS is actually pretty good at the training we're providing on intersectionality, so understanding the links between different people. And so when we're doing our recruiting, trying to think of that at the forefront, and that's difficult. I think there's training that we need to do to our workforce as well, so that they understand that having a diverse team, the benefits of having a diverse team. So I think it's happening, it's slowly happening. I think we need to speed it up a bit. And those are some of the things I think that could potentially help around sort of the training and the openness around the way that we have recruitment panels, job descriptions and that kind of thing. But I also think on the other side, for employees, as we said before, be open to yourself. You know, if you feel that you're the strongest candidate, just sell yourself. You've got to sell yourself. The amount of times I see people when I see their CVs and I think, I know this person, they're much better than what they've written here. You've got to really sell yourself, and don't think because you might be neurodiverse or that I can't apply for something. Organisations should be putting in things in place to support you in the organisation. So go for those, go big, go, you know, I'll go home, they say, don't they? So put yourself out there, I think. So yeah, just be open and positive. But I think employers are trying to do that, but having recruitment agencies outsourced should definitely be helping and supporting with that.
Yeah, one thing I would add is, you know, an onus on you when you're being interviewed is also, we've talked about challenging the people that you're potentially going to work for. And I've been in situations where people have said, okay, but I want to see a woman in my next round because I've only seen men so far. And making sure that, you know, you put what you want across as much, and you know, and people will oblige. They just don't think about it. They're just trying to get through the process because they've got a busy day job, and recruitment on top of it takes up a lot of time trying to find the right candidate with the right personality and that you will fit within the culture. So it's really important. I don't know, Mark, if you want to add to that.
I think Natasha's actually should move into recruitment. You've literally word for word what I was going to say. You did give a very good summary of it. And I think the one thing as a recruiter that we sometimes see is companies in their desire with the best possible intentions to build a inclusive workforce, they try and rush into it, not thinking of the consequence of their actions. So as an example, if they're wanting to hire more females, they go and it comes from often quite high up in an organisation at board level. We are going to have X amount of females in our leadership team, for example. Then it sort of cascades back to the recruitment partners. And then you're hearing it from, right, we need to hire, we've got 5 roles here, 4 of them need to be filled by females. Now that puts off all the females in that business because they think, are we just giving out jobs to females because it's a female rather than they're the best person for the job? And I think where recruitment businesses need to work in conjunction with the clients is to make sure, as Natasha said, you're giving everyone the opportunity to be the best person for the job, so they get to give their best version of themselves in an interview. So if that's It could be giving questions in advance of the interview for someone who's neurodiverse. It could be a variety of different things. But that's where there's on the owner, coming back to what we touched on earlier, recruitment partners to work with their clients in closer conjunction, in partnership, to make sure that you are truly building an inclusive and diverse process that gives everyone that opportunity to be the best person for the job.
Just another thing. I mean, some of our trusts now are having open days. So, you had the formal interview practice where you go in, it's very, very unpressured, it's not really showing your true self when you come to an interview. So in order to try and get a wider group of people, they're having more casual open days. People come in, it's a lot more informal. They have almost like a day in the office, so you can come for the whole day. And what they're then getting is you get a bit of a try before you buy, you see if the organisations, if you like them or not. And the success rate they've had with people not just getting jobs, but staying because they've changed the way they've done that kind of recruitment process has been great. It's not universal. I'd like to see more of it, I think. And it does take up a lot of time. But I think if organisations invest in different ways to attract people, or even where they put the job adverts out, not just LinkedIn and all those other places, but wider spaces, then it'll attract more people. So I think things are changing, but it's slow. And I hope to see more of it going forward. But the open day thing, and lots of trusts are now doing it, just to attract different types of people. And it's been really great.
Just to add to that as well, I've seen a lot more webinar styles as well, so that people who can't always get to an organisation either, at least you can then join online and meet some of the people who are doing those type of roles, or be able to ask the questions as well. So I think it's a different sort of way of doing that as well, which is more convenient to people, particularly who've got families, younger families as well, isn't it? So yeah, lots of different ways of doing it these days. Just adding as well, what you were saying about the interview questions as well. I saw that many years ago where interview panels started giving out the interview questions, and then it seemed to have stopped for many years. I'm noticing that more and more again at the moment, and it's a really good way, I think, of getting individuals to be more comfortable with you as well. So it's more like a conversation than a formal interview, which none of us like, do we? If we're brutally honest. So yeah.
Thank you. But we do have a few more questions, but I'm conscious we've got 5 minutes left. So I was wondering whether anyone in the audience had any questions for the panel. And I know that we've got some online as well, but we'll give the opportunity.
But you return when you something like that. CV, like you said, the former is there is an IE algorithm that can pick it off, so it's not there. How can you do? I have a lot of hunger to get that, and I should know more. But even I am thinking, how do I approach the market now? How can I penetrate that both to the enterprise with my CV, first of all, but then is the attachment letter important? Is it anymore, or how do I do? If I go on Indeed or a job board, this is my CV. I have only that space. I have more than 20 years of experience, and then they take it short. How can I express everything I've done?
Yeah. It's very difficult, isn't it? Because you've got 2 pages in order to get your life journey experience to. And I like what you were saying earlier, actually, Andrea, about, for example, if you had to have a break or you've got skills that are a bit out of date now, to basically sort of flip your CV on the head and put all your key things that really, really stand out at the top. So, but yeah, you are right. You've literally got 2 pages to sell yourself. I'd also say as well, have a real good look at your CV, because we get to see a lot and the quality is very often quite poor, is what I would say. So actually invest a lot of time in pulling together a really good quality CV, share it with friends, family, somebody that you trust to be able to do that sort of check and challenge. And even things like grammar, spelling checks, it's obvious, but the amount of people that just throw in CVs and make it obviously relevant to what you're applying for. Now, as you say, you may not have the exact skills or experience that they're asking for, but you will have transferable skills that are still relevant. So again, it's making those really clear. Another thing I'd say as well is about presenting your professional self online. So for example, and I've never done this, but I do know of people who do go onto your Facebook, go onto your Twitter, X accounts, LinkedIn. And equally, if you stood there with a pint on your head and a silly sign, you know, it doesn't present your professional self. So I would make sure that, again, you check your LinkedIn profiles, look at how you're presenting yourself as well to the wider public, because, you know, those sort of things do stick, don't they? They don't go away. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Thank you, Sarah.
I was just going to give a really practical point about CV checker. So within BCS membership, you've got access to something called CV 360 that you will look at your CV and how the algorithms will look at it and will give you tips around keywords and around, you know, grammar checks as well, but presenting the information. So it's really quick, it's really worth doing, and you know, it might take you a couple of goes to get into that 90%, but I think it would be better for it. So just wanted to flag that one.
Thank you.
I think as well, personalising your response to the ones you really want. If you see a handful of jobs and you go, these are the ones I really like the look of because of X, Y, Z, take your time to do your research on their website and kind of really sell why you against that, what the job spec is, but B, also their business and their values and why you match that. I think that can help stand you out from the crowd, because you can be one of quite a number of responses. So anything you can do to stand out from the crowd and personalize yourself, along with not putting a pint on your head, decent stuff.
Julie, do you want to give us one quick question from? Okay. Yeah, so from a mentor, mentoring is the question.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the BCS mentoring program. So that's again open to all mentors. You can talk about, there are lots of different fields where you can talk about the type of mentor that you're looking for, or some of the challenges that you want to address. Then you get options to contact people. So it's a really open system. And I would say that we've got lots and lots of employers, lots of people at different career stages that can help. So it isn't a question of people who are in leadership positions, it's across the board really. So take advantage of that. But I think also informally, the mentor can come in lots of different forms. And so you can have 3 or 4 different mentors for different types of things, and almost just use people as informal sounding boards, and just being out there and going to events and talking to people can really help you to have those people to draw on as well. So it's both the formal and the informal.
Yeah, I would definitely say that having what I call my informal board of directors, so having your trusted friends and colleagues that you can actually go and talk to and ask. And if you are at a networking event and you don't know anyone, look for the other person that's standing by the wall looking lost. They will also be very grateful that you go and talk to them.
So I would say, I mean, clinical skills are great because half the things that we do in the NHS is to the clinical workforce. So I think you need to play up the skills that you've got from a clinical point around understanding your customer. So that would be one thing. I think it was mentioned around some of the courses that are available, and there are a number of courses available, and many of them are, like I said, are free, that you could upskill in terms of just getting your tech awareness improved. So I would definitely do that. But the other one is coming to events and networking. there's nothing better than knowing people and understanding people and someone saying, God, you'd be great for this job. Why don't you apply? The NHS job thing, I really am, I'm sorry, it probably isn't the best it could be, but I think it goes back to your point around really making your CV specific. You said it right. There's so many CVs that come through and you think, well, this was the job description, this is the person spec. Doesn't even match. Are you sure you know what job you're applying for? So I think people really don't just chuck a load of CVs in for any random job and don't adapt it. You really need to, I would say, almost like have a core CV, and exactly as you said, flip that CV so your core skills are at the beginning, but maybe just adapt them and really sell up the ones that fit to that JD and that person's spec. So my recommendation is to people to take the time, look at the jobs on NHS jobs, because even you say it's an algorithm, it isn't. It's human people. I've got a job out there at the moment. I think there's 63 applicants. That'll be me going through 63 CVs and application forms, and I'll have to read every single one. But I will be looking for the keywords and things for those, and they will get the higher scores than those who waffle on. like they're writing a story. I'm thinking, oh my goodness me, it's almost like once upon a time I did a job doing this. It's like, no, I'm really sure you did. And also remember, you're going to have an interview. Don't say every single thing on that application. Sell yourself enough to make it hungry, but save some back so that when you're in that interview, there's something fresh and new. So really hone it down, be succinct and be specific, I would say. But from the clinical one, sell up those clinical skills because they're definitely transferable.
One. Okay, I'm going to not suggest that it's this panel that answers that question. I think it may be more suitable for the next panel. Okay.
Hi, I'm just looking for a bit of advice, tips as a returner after 20 years experience. 2-year period. I've got a voice in my head saying I'm not giving up. I know I can do the job. I'm not giving up myself to that HR team with my CV out there. So I haven't done it. And I keep on telling my voice in my head, keeps on telling me you can't do it. Should I use the traditional route? Because I'm going to be competing with people that are currently doing that in a day-to-day job, not 2 years ago. What's your advice?
I'd love to chat to you firstly afterwards. Secondly, use your network. I think that's come out of this. Coming to events like this and talking to people is a great way. Never amazes me more than the amount of people you go, I know someone there who might be looking for someone, and probably making sure self-doubt doesn't inadvertently creep into your head is really important. And I think there's a well-known fact, isn't there? I think it's males apply for jobs if they're about 4% of it. Probably if they match it, they'll probably put themselves in the mix. Whereas females will go, I'm 94%, but I'm not right, so I'll pass up on this. And it's really important that females do go, like males, if I'm 60% of the job, there's a conversation to be had. You've probably got some great skills. And I think this is where, particularly in technology, we hear this well-documented tech talent shortage. There actually doesn't need to be one, or certainly not to the extent there is, recognizing that we're in a world of increased usage of technology. So there is an increase in number of roles. Lots of people have the skills to transition based on the skills they've already got. So do put yourself forward for stuff and talk to people, ask people for help, make the most of the people here, because I think there's some great people here who will be able to help you. And I'm sure in your network as well that you've got perhaps on your, I think Andrew said earlier, trusted informal board, was it you said? I'm sure you've got some of your own informal board who you can pick on and ask for help. People want to help normally, so
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, it's hard going back, but it is a known fact that more women than men, research shows, have imposter syndrome. So you're not alone. There are lots of other women out there who go, well, I'm not sure I can do that job. So, so don't listen to the gremlin in your head.
It's easier said than done, but
I know.
but you've got to believe in yourself. I think that's 100%. And I think everyone's right. Get 1 or 2 people that you can just sound off. Get someone to read your CV. Put it out there. I mean, the LinkedIn thing, if you can update your profile, do 1 step at a time. Think, right, today I'm going to do my profile. Get it really, really good. Great. Then I'm going to think about what skills have I got? Think about all the jobs you've ever done. Literally write them down. Who am I kind of thing. Put your skills out there. And then what does that skill mean in terms of if I was going to get a job now, how would I transfer the fact that I'm really organised? Great, there you go. Actually, I'm really good at communicating. Great. Think about then the examples of how you can match those back with things you've done. Doesn't matter how long ago it is, you still have that skill. The things you probably even do in the home, you don't even realise how good you're doing. Most women are very organised. Most, not all, most women are very organised. And you might think, God, you know, I'm really good at communicating from a 5-year-old to a 20-year-old to my mum to this. So actually I can do to my bank manager. You know, you just branch out, and you're 100% right about women thinking 94%. But get a mentor. I mean, it's been said here, BCS do one. Get someone who can you can just talk it through, because I think once you get a bit more confidence, you will then feel a bit more at ease. And you might not get the first 2 jobs you apply. So what? Just keep going. You've just got to keep going, because you will get it. We believe in you. So, you know, go for it.
Yeah, and when you write those things down, my other tip would be read them out aloud. No one else needs to hear, just you get used to yourself saying those things, because out loud, because that's what you're going to have to do in an interview. It's because if you just internalize it in your head, it uses different processes in the brain. So you need to verbalize it, and that will help you with your confidence. Okay, so I'd like to thank my panel, Natasha, Holly, Sarah, Mark, give them all a round of applause.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you've all had a chance to have enough of a break. I can see people have got some food and drink. Hope everyone at home has managed to get some refreshments as well. So I'm very pleased to welcome our second panel. We're going to be talking all about returner and reskilling programs, and a good chance for you all to ask some questions. Now, something we've really heard from BCS Women has been around some frustration that people have been feeling around how do we find a good program? What's the right program for me? And how do we know that we can actually trust this program is going to help us? So that's what this panel is all about. We hope that this is going to be really valuable for you. So please make use of our time and ask the panelists lots of questions. It's a chance for you all to interrogate and to learn as well. So my name's Jo Stansfield. I'm co-chair of BCS Women, so support Andrea in the work that she does with BCS Women, and also a trustee of the BCS. So I seem to be here an awful lot nowadays. So let me introduce our panel today. So here we have Alistair Marshall from Sparta Global. So Alistair's got 12 years experience as a talent manager and ED&I advocate at Sparta Global. He's helped thousands of junior professionals and careers changers to break into technology, and he's hired all female programs, run Athena hackathons, and delivers workshops on social impact. So welcome, Alistair. And we have Julianne Miles, who is CEO and co-founder of Career Returners, formerly known as Women Returners. So this is a purpose-led consulting, coaching, and network organisation which works with employers, returners, and government to enable professionals to return to work after an extended career break. Julianne's mission is to remove the career break penalty, and she has been awarded an MBE for services to business and equality in the Queen's Birthday Honours 2019. So a pleasure to have you here, Julianne. And in the middle, we have Mark Edwards, who is Director of Application Development at Discover Financial Services. Mark has spent his career within the payments and finance industry and has helped multinational retailers to navigate the complex payments sector by designing innovative payment solutions, which also include helping to develop the first ever chip and PIN payment solutions in the UK. So welcome to Mark. I think a late addition to the panel, so I hope I found an appropriate biography for you. So welcome. And next we have Teo Elo, who is working with NHS England and the Shuri Institute. And she's also a career returner herself, so we'll be able to hear stories from Teo about her own journey. So she is a senior implementation and business change manager with a passion for supporting women in digital health. With expertise in strategic digital projects planning, change management, and project management, Teo excels in converting business objectives into measurable technology goals. So welcome, Teo. It's great to have you here. And last but not least, we have Sasha Bourgoin. Pronunciation variable, hopefully good enough. So she is co-founder and head of operations at TechSwitch. So Sasha is also a career changer and has changed careers from recruitment to technology and experienced firsthand how challenging moves into tech can be. Her passion lies in helping to elevate others around her, enabling them to achieve their potential and celebrating their achievements and skills. So welcome to the panel. So our first question, let's go to you first, Sasha. Can you tell us about, what do your programs try to address and how did you go about setting them up?
Yeah, sure. So lovely to be here. Lovely to see you all. I guess I'll talk a little bit first about how we went about setting up TechSwitch. So it started with really way back with my career change where I was working in recruitment and I was recruiting software developers. And I pretty much spent all day thinking, wow, this is a really cool job that these people are doing, but I haven't done any STEM subjects since GCSEs. So, this isn't for me. But I want to try and get into tech somehow. So I initially kind of wheeled my way in via sales to a little e-commerce startup, and then slowly became a project manager, moved into UX, moved into various different things. And at the end of it, ended up at Software, which is a software as a service company. And they were looking to do something with the training materials that they had put together. And I looked at it and I said, oh my goodness, I can create the opportunity for people that I wish I'd had back when I was looking at the tech industry and wanting to find a way in. So I set up TechSwitch. One thing led to another and here we are. And what it does is provides a route into tech for people who don't see themselves represented in the industry, who need a little bit of time and a bit of extra support getting to the point where they feel they are able to have a career as software developers. So a really big part of it for me was to make sure that it wasn't just a boot camp where it taught you to do just one specific language or one specific thing, but that it was actually a vocational boot camp. So it taught you all of the day-to-day skills that you would need to be a software developer, because you'd be surprised how little of it is actually coding. It's something that always shocks people. And that was the big part of why I ended up setting up TechSwitch. So yeah, but who else wants to talk about why they set up their programs?
Who's next? Looks like Julianne.
There we go. I've mastered the tech. Yeah, I was also, so I'm CEO of co-founder of Career Returners, but actually also a career returner and a career switcher myself. So I had a career break after a first career in corporate strategy and marketing, spent 4 years full-time with my children, and then ended up retraining into psychology, which led me along this windy path to founding the organization 10 years ago. So totally get how isolating, self-doubting everybody is when they're thinking, am I up to it? Can I do it? Is it possible? All those questions. I think totally get where you are.
Okay, well, I don't mind going next. From our side, our organization just saw a real need in order to help attract more individuals. And so we actually work with all manner of different boot camps to sort of help raise awareness for digital skills, whether they be sort of based all over the UK. It's useful for us to be able to get a great network of individuals who can help represent us with different skills. Some boot camps offer particular technical specialization. Some of them offer fantastic demographic focuses in order to help with ED&I programs and to help with gender parity. So boot camps can be, from an employer's perspective, an incredible source of really fantastically well-trained individuals who clearly already showcased the right kind of digital skills, the right kind of aptitude, the right kind of determination and passion to want to learn. So honestly, pursuing the various different types of bootcamp out there can be a wonderful endeavor, a great way to differentiate yourself from lots of other candidates out there in the market, regardless of if you come from STEM backgrounds or not. So I do appreciate it can be difficult to know which is the right one for you. There's so many options. You can absolutely shop around. And my personal preference is just ask someone who's already worked there or been through the program. Just don't be afraid to reach out to someone on LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to look at reviews. Don't be afraid to just call up and see if you can get a little bit of first-hand accounts and understanding of what they're good at, what they're bad at, and go to their events as well. It's always useful shopping. Thank you.
Who would like to go next? Teo?
I'm coming from it from a slightly different angle because I'm recruiting as part of what I do as a business. And we do, really actively encourage returners as well. So we do it for a number of areas. I think if you're looking proactively for something, what we look for is an organization that backs the people that they're trying to get to. So I think there can be some organizations in here that are really just saying, hey, pay us some money and we'll get you trained up and it's all okay. What we're looking for is companies that would sponsor, or we would sponsor to go through. So it should be free at the point of, for the person, it should be free in my eyes because they're backing the people to come through. So I think if you're looking for that kind of recruitment, because certainly we would, look for a company that is prepared to support you going through that and to the end point as well. So yes, we can provide free training, but actually you can get a process all the way through that finds you a job at the end and guarantees you a job at the end in most circumstances. And that, for me, they're the companies that we like working with because they're the companies that invest in the people. And that's what we need to get to as well.
Teo, would you like to tell us a little bit about what you're all doing?
Thank you. So I currently work for NHS England, and I'm also part of the Sharing Network. So the Sharing Network is about supporting women, Black women and women from diverse background into career change. And usually what we've noticed is most of the women usually come from clinical background, and in terms of career switch or what next is always a transition into digital or tech. That it's never finance, it never comms, it's never PR, it's never marketing, it's always digital or the technical space. And also, it's also part of the transition into more of a strategic senior role between the NHS organizations as well. One of the reasons why I'm very passionate about that is because I also come from a very non-technical environment. I'm actually a chartered marketer, and I also don't come from a clinical background, but I work in NHS and I support both clinical and technology, which probably is not the best combination, but that's where I found myself. And I'm a mom of 4 kids, and I've tried various things in terms of what actually works for the family and also what actually works for me. I live in Kent, and there was no way at that time where I actually had to be taking the train to London with 4 little kids. We were always the first in at the nursery and the last out, and that wasn't fair on the kids rather on me, because I actually felt what was the point in working when everything was actually going towards the nursery at that time. So I kind of realized that I needed a change and I needed to do something that works for the family. And the best transferable skill I think I had at that time, especially working in marketing and in digital, at that time, the organization I was working with was e-commerce application when that was when Magento first came out. Everybody knows what Magento e-commerce platform is. So, and the best transferable skill I had at that time was project management. So I did Prince 2, but then I didn't want to go straight into project management. I actually said, okay, what can I do? So I tailored my CV into what could I easily do? And the best thing I could do at that time was, because I realized I had to learn, and was to be a project support. So I saw this job application for a 3-month project support in the local NHS organization, and I applied for it. Of course, at that interview, I downplayed myself, but from the job description, I could see, yeah, I can take minutes, I can do action log, I can do this, I could do this. So I was able to actually say, yeah, I could do this. And to me at that time, it actually worked well because the organization was just across the road from the kids' nursery. So I just dropped in and walked across. I was like, it's a win-win. So within 4 weeks of starting the job, my director called me and was like, you're too overqualified for this. I was like, yeah, I know, but if I've applied for the next job, which was a project coordinator, you won't have called me because 1, I didn't have NHS experience, and 2, I didn't come from a technical background. So it was like, okay, we've got work to do here. I'm going to get you a mentor and I'm going to train you up and to get to, and here I am, 12 years on, I'm still in NHS and I'm still working my way up.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, what a great story. And there's so many things I think to pick up on what you've talked about in there. Actually, my next question is directed to you as well, Teo. And I think that maybe this is a good follow-on, which is about mentoring new talent. And it sounds like with your manager, actually, you found somebody who wanted to help mentor you and to help you to develop. And I certainly know, you know, in other work that we've done with BCS Women, that we've mentored women, particularly who've been coming through returners schemes. And that's been so valuable, actually, to give an insight into what the role's like and where you can expect to grow to and how to match up some of those transferable skills. So can you tell us a bit about how you're supporting people now with your mentoring and how you're helping learners to come through?
Very passionate about mentoring. One, because I'm someone that have benefited from that mentoring program. If I didn't have the early or someone being a mentor to me right from that stage, I don't think my career would probably be where it is now, because I probably would have tried and tested various things and it won't actually have been a very smooth journey. So I don't downplay the effect of mentoring on anyone's career journey. And even till now, I still have a mentor, because I always believe like in life, there's nothing you can do on your own. You still need someone to bounce ideas by. If there are some job applications that I will see, I'll then go to my mentor, be like, do you think I'm ready for it? Like, stop, stay where you are. You're not ready for it. This is what we need to do. So in terms of mentoring, one of the things that I currently do with the Shuri Network is there are various things, platforms and ideas we actually do within the Shuri Network. But one of the ones that I'm very passionate about is something I call a day in the life study. So I invite Shuri Network members to the office, to our office in Canary Wharf, and they get to spend the day with the regional implementation managers. One, they don't have access just to me, they have access to a team of national implementation managers. So they get to actually speak with different people, get to bounce ideas in terms of how do you go about this, how do you do this, how do you do this. They get to sit on some of our program meetings as well. They get to meet the regional director as well, which gives them access to it. And also we've got something called the change management toolkit, which we also give to the members when they're actually leaving at the end of the day. Because for me, I always believe that sometimes when you mentor someone, it's more than just a phone call, what's the update, how are you doing? I kind of feel like hands-on experience to kind of guide someone and show them the way to go about it is probably the best and most effective way of mentoring. And apart from that, I also have some ladies that would have come through the mentoring program saying, actually, I need a one-to-one session with you, and I just don't need a group or a team meeting or something like that. And then the first thing I always do is, okay, you tell me about yourself and what you want to get out of this mentoring program, because I can look at you and tell you that this is the right way. But if you don't actually know yourself at that stage, it's not going to work. So I always tell them, tell me what you want to get out from me, and then we'll try and work through it, and I will just be there to guide you. So I'm not there to drive the car for you. You're going to drive your career by yourself, but I'm going to support you as your co-pilot to make sure that we get to the right stage.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. And I see Sasha nodding in agreement. I wonder if you've got something you'd like to add.
Yeah, I think mentoring is one of those things that you almost don't realize how valuable it is until you have one, and you have one that's fantastic, because you suddenly think, how did I do the rest of my career without this person? And certainly I've had some absolutely incredible mentors in my time who have really pushed me to do things that were outside of my comfort zone. And now I try and do the same to people. I've just been having a conversation with someone this week about a promotion case that they're putting forward. And I read it and I said, this is all true, everything you've done, but it's just little sentences about all these things. And I know from the things you've been saying to me that you led all of this. You did this all independently. You did this by yourself without any support. And she sort of says, well, I didn't want to complain about the fact that I hadn't any support and I didn't have any support. And I was like, no, but you could talk about that. That's amazing that you did this without those pieces of support in place. And you should be like shouting about that and celebrating it. And I think often, particularly for women, you worry when you write it all down about coming across as arrogant. And honestly, I've never seen a performance review or anything like that has come in that sounds arrogant, because every time people misjudge how bad it is. So I always say to people, write it as if, you know, you're the best person in the world at this thing. Then have someone review it. They will tell you that it is good and that it is fine, and you have finally just about hit the level of kind of self-celebration that you needed to in order to actually accurately state what you've been doing and what you've been achieving. And I think, yeah, often it is about having that other person tell you, no, you need to be braver to actually say the things that you're great at, because we are all great at things, but it's, you know, it's not the done thing to say that we're great at things. So having someone else point that out and say, no, you've really got to talk about yourself and big yourself up, because you are fantastic and you are worthy of this thing that you're trying to achieve, is just so useful.
Yeah, I'd like to add something because some of you might think, well, I haven't got a mentor. It's hard for me to find a mentor. You can actually get a lot of the benefits just by creating a little support group. So we say often with people when you're trying to get back to work, find other like-minded people like you. You don't need many, you know, one or two, and create a little support group. And because even though you are all in the same situation, if somebody tells you about them, you will get feedback back about your strengths. They will hear different things in you. Yeah, so you can get a lot of these benefits that Sasha's been talking about here, just from talking to somebody else and getting feedback. And then you give them feedback and actually you build each other up. And that's another really important way of maintaining motivation, because whether you're going back to work, whether you're career switching, whether you're doing both, it is an emotional roller coaster. And you'll have great days, you feel really positive, you believe in yourself, it's brilliant. You will have bad days where it all feels really hard, you're failing at everything, it's never going to work. And you need practical support, and you need emotional support. So I'd say sort of one of the strongest tips to get yourself through it, to keep going through the changes, is create this support group.
Thank you. So just as a quick piece of advice about where else you can hopefully find mentors, I appreciate it might be difficult. You may think, well, I could just reach out to someone impressive on LinkedIn and try my luck, see if I can try to carve out 15 minutes with them and arrange a call, which does sometimes work. It can be worthwhile giving it a try. A little bit of flattery can go a long way, just FYI. But I would also recommend reach out to your university sort of contacts. There's lots of great careers teams, employability teams at universities that know people like us, and they have contacts with many businesses, and they'll often ask businesses to participate in mentorship programs. I've done quite a lot of work with Greenwich and City University, and I didn't even sort of graduate there. I just really like the university employment team. So if you've got those kind of networks, do reach out to them. Even if you graduated 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they want to be seen as helping their alumni at all stages of their careers. And they may be able to help introduce you to people who could be really inspiring. And again, just give you that confidence boost to really help you out there.
Thank you. I think when you're talking about like mentorship programs, it can seem very formal. It can seem kind of, well, I've got to go and get on this program and I've got to talk. I think some of the benefits of just having a half-an-hour conversation with somebody is easily and can like easily still provide a lot of benefit. And I think some of the times, like I could be a formal mentor, that's true, but also I can sit down with somebody for half an hour with a cup of tea, listen to what they're trying to tell me, play back to them, and that in itself, I think, is a lot of benefit, and that's what I try and do. So I try and mentor people in small doses, if you will, because you can just listen and play them back, and they go, "That's not me." Yes, it is. You've just told me everything that you want to go. If you've got confidence, all I'm doing is telling you exactly what you've told me, but maybe in a slightly more positive light, which I'm pretty good at generally. And so that, like, but don't think of it like a mentor necessarily as a formal program. I think you can get a lot out of just having a conversation with peers or you know, anybody in the organization. It took me a lot to work out. I'm not that social generally, like outside of these type of things. So to sit around to somebody and go, "Oh, can I just have a cup of tea with you in a chat?" took a lot for me because I just don't like talking to people generally. And so doing that, but it took me a lot, but it really does help. And people aren't going to go, what I was scared of is that people would go, "Well, no, I'm not going to talk to you. I don't even know who you are." But actually, people are surprisingly nice in life, and they will turn around and go, "Oh, okay, I'll have a cup of tea with you to do this." And I'll do the same thing now if people ask me just to have a chat. So I think, yeah, it just doesn't mean a formal mentoring program. Just be brave and ask people to have a chat. People are nice in this world and will help you.
You've made me think of a story back earlier in my own career there, Mark, that I've done quite a few wiggles in my work. And in one of my wiggles, I'd asked a former boss could they review my CV to help me get into my next step? And I'd sent it to him by email, and he sent an email back saying, I think we better talk about this, Joe. I was like, uh-oh. He came back to me and said, Joe, I just don't recognise Joe in this CV. This just isn't selling yourself at all. And he went through it with me line by line and just helped me to make everything really shine and stand out in a way that I couldn't really see for myself. And it was just one of those conversations that, I mean, it's probably 6 or 7 years ago, but it's really stuck with me, actually. Coming back to what Julianne says as well about being that confidence boost, you know, hearing from somebody else how you look through their eyes is kind of amazing. And it's really like a great support to keep you going when you've got some, you know, some unknown things ahead to help find your way through it. All right, so I'm going to move on to our next question. And let's go to Julianne for this one to start. So this isn't just about the benefit for returners, it's also very valuable for businesses. Can you tell us about the kind of benefits that you're seeing returners to bring to the businesses that they're going to work for?
I think it's a really important one, because I think anybody who is sitting there undervaluing themselves, who's had a career break, often you're there, you're so focused on what you don't have because of your career break. You've got this gap on your CV, you've missed out maybe on the latest technical knowledge or experience, you don't know the latest jargon. What you need to do is flip it on the head and think, what do I have that is different? And I think it was really well illustrated by one of the employers that we work with. And they were saying they had a returner to join their team. They said that my initial thought was, I will look past, they had a long career break, this person, they said, we'll look past that, it's fine, we'll just look to their experience before. And he said, the more I worked with this person, the more I realized that actually they were a fantastic member of the team because of their career break, not despite it, because they brought something different. They came in with fresh eyes, they came in with fresh perspective. They actually questioned me and they said, oh, why do we do that? Maybe we could do it differently. And they brought something very complementary to, and actually this was a technical area of the business. He said, I've got so many people in my team who have those, yeah, they have that up-to-date technical skills, they've got all that knowledge. But what this returner brought was something different above and beyond that. And that was because they developed the communication skills, they developed the empathy skills in their career break. And they came in with such a degree of enthusiasm, energy, and difference that was really, really, really valuable. And actually, he said, this was, I realized the career break was a secret sauce. Yeah, so I thought that was lovely. So now I want to hire lots of returners, which is amazing. So I think that's an example. What it is for me, the way we describe it is it is a form of diversity. And I think often with bringing in returners, around about 90% of people who've taken long career breaks are female. So there is this aspect of gender diversity, high percentage of ethnic diversity, you know, around about 40 to 50%. And what is so valuable is this aspect of what we call cognitive diversity. So, and that's the key bit, because that's the bit that brings the innovation. That's actually a lot of the power of diversity from a business perspective, is this difference of experience of thinking. And you bring that, whatever the reason for your career break, you bring that. So I think that's that. And then alongside that is a fantastic talent pool. You know, really, really high caliber, very talented people. Often maybe people who aren't feeling they're that amazing anymore. There is this fairly pervasive loss of self-confidence if you've had a long career break, but actually fantastic skills and experience. So I think it's the combination, and that's what we hear. We work with 170 employers. You know, we have so many employers out there who are saying, we really value returners. We really want to bring them into the organization. And it's because of this.
Definitely, thank you. I get a lot out of returners, and I think a lot of it is you can get somebody that can go, right, I can do a course in AWS, I can do a course in Java or wherever they can go do an AI course. You can't go and do a course on life experience. You've got to earn life experience. And you really see that when you bring on returners, and the sort of whole balanced view that you have, and the kind of like, yeah, the diversity of thought, you get that within the group. And I think, is it Alec, is it? Sorry. I'm very sorry. You mentioned something. I think it was 3 years you said you were in? I didn't, I'm sorry. I think you mentioned you got 3 years out in terms of technology skill. I think 90% of any teams that I have to learn stuff new. They have to. It's just like it's an ongoing super technical thing. But as long as you've got like the passion to learn, that's what you're after, and that's what returners have as well. To come back to work is a very brave thing, and you've obviously got the aptitude to learn and to come back and do it. And that's what you're always after. You're after people that can change technologies, because it could be that 1 minute we'd need teams to do this, the next minute there's got a new technology everyone's got to learn. So if you've got that ability to learn quickly, which is demonstrated by returners, that I think is also really important and is a really good asset.
So one of the other things I think that I always find really incredible about returners is the drive and motivation that they have. It is so inspiring to see, and particularly given that often in your career search, you come back after a break, you might have put your CV out to loads of different companies and had absolutely nothing back. And the fact that you keep going, you keep trying, that's an incredible resiliency that you bring to that. And it's something that is often undervalued in ourselves, because we think, oh, all I do is keep trying and failing. But that is so, so important, to be able to try things, not get what you wanted the first time round, but to keep going and keep going. And our course that we put people through is tough. It's a tough 12 weeks. And what happens at the end of it is we put people in a role and they go, oh my goodness, this is so much easier than that 12 weeks. Or the break that I had, like the actual job is way easier. And I think it's that drive that they have to get through those really hard times. Because I mean, I've heard some amazing stories from people who've gone through, all sorts of really hard lifetimes and come out the end of it still with a drive to have this career and to move into a sector that they potentially weren't in before. And that is so, so inspirational, and something that a lot of employers really value, because it means that you have a drive to better yourself and also make them as an employer better as well. And you bring that energy to their organization. And that's really, really valuable, and something that a lot of them really, really appreciate when we bring returners to them.
Teo, can I ask, what kind of soft skills would you recommend that you would focus on to help people when they land to the roles?
The first one definitely is communication skills. You need to be able to communicate with people. As mentioned on the previous panel, even if you're communicating with a 5-year-old, you've been going to mom and toddlers group or something, it's still communication skills. So don't downplay that. Because when you're in the workplace, you should be able to communicate with anyone you're working with, even if it's in the kitchen, you're talking to the canteen lady or anyone, you should still be able to communicate. So having very good, strong communication skills is important. And of course, it's something that can be developed along the way as well. It doesn't need to be perfect from day one. The second skill that I'll probably say that everyone needs is also to be flexible, because we all kind of have expectations. And sometimes when you go into a workplace, it probably doesn't meet what you probably expect it to be. I've had a role where the role was perfect. I love the job description, I love the team, but the organization and some of the extended stakeholder I had to work with, I didn't feel comfortable with it, because I felt it was a bit away from what I believed at that time. So that was a little bit of a challenge for me, but I had to be flexible. I had to adapt to that situation just to be able to get the necessary skills and experience I needed to be able to move on to the next career progression. And probably finally also is we are currently in an environment or an industry that is forever moving fast. You need to also be able to keep up with your continuous learning as well, and making sure that you actually keep up with the relevant skills necessary in that industry and that organization at that time as well.
Just to add on to that point, I think that you should really harness the fact that most graduates are terrified of you. Purely because they know that you actually know how to do the jobs, and you're going to be generally better skilled and more adaptable. I think in terms of the ways that you can both get ahead and the kind of skills that you want to develop, I have it all the time when we hire whole groups of people made up of junior professionals, graduates and returners to work and return to work mothers, that who's always on time? The returners. Who's the first people? Well, graduates will panic if they don't understand a situation. A returner will go and find someone and fix it. Okay, if everything has gone completely messed up and hit the fan, it's returners who keep the calm and who just say, it's okay, we're going to get through this. So I would really emphasize the fact that you've probably had far harder experiences in your life than any of the graduates and that even that job. I mean, the beautiful thing about work is that's 9 to 5. If you've raised a family, that's not 9 to 5, that's full time. So you're always going to be able to call upon so many experiences where you've been through worse, where you've had to deal with much more stressful situations, and when you're just going to be able to carry on in a way that a lot of other people can't. They will see that, they'll pick that up from you, and they'll want to learn from you. So it's hilarious that you may not always have that self-belief in yourself, but trust me, they're more scared of you than you are of them.
I think it's on. So I'm going to ask you all one final question, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for audience questions as well. And so what I'd like to ask you all is, what would you recommend to all of our audience here about how to find a good bootcamp? What is a good route that you would recommend for people to take to help themselves return or pivot into tech?
Sure, very happy with that. First and foremost, there's so many options in terms of tech that you can explore. There's no one right pathway for anyone. So I would really recommend try out some things online first, okay? Maybe get a Raspberry Pi kit. Just try building something for fun. Maybe try to build out your own website. See if that's something that really interests you. If so, great. Maybe look on Udemy, maybe look on Coursera, Code Academy, so many different free code camps, so many different things that you can really dabble in. And then if you still really enjoy that and you're incentivized to want to learn more, then find a bootcamp that specializes in that particular tool, that particular technology, because you know that it's going to be useful for you. Sometimes I have people who maybe say to me, oh, I really want to be a software developer. Great, why? Yeah, I hear the pay is good. Okay, have you ever tried coding? Okay, no, not really. Well, have you ever applied for a job where you need to speak Chinese Mandarin? No. Well, who knows? That could be good for you too. But you need to go off and just try things, okay? So if you come to me in an interview and say, you know what, I've done 5 hours learning some cybersecurity, watching some tutorials, and now I'm really interested in your sort of cybersecurity bootcamp, great, that makes me a lot more confident than someone who just says, yeah, you know, I reckon I could do DevOps. Why? No idea. So absolutely just try things first online and then invest heavily in that.
Yeah, so agree with all of that. And adding a bit more on top, I think there's 2 other factors in there as well. I think, first of all, find out the end point. Yeah, so understand what the job is going to be like that you may be doing, or the range of jobs you may be doing at the end of it. And then think, well, is this a fit with me? Because we're all different. You know, we all have different strengths. We all have different things we enjoy. We have different things which energize us. So you need to find out what you'll be doing day to day at the end of it and think, well, is that a fit with me? Don't just focus on the nature of the job and is it there. So I think that's number 1. 2 is recognize that within tech, there are so many different jobs, and it's constantly amazing me how many different jobs are in tech. And I think it's changing all the time. So don't just think that there is, you know, one option in here that is the software development. That may be a great fit for you, but really try and understand all the different options. And this bit, and it's kept coming up today, talk to people about it. Yeah, you can spend so much time sitting there behind your laptop, researching, talk to people, find out what it's like, think, does this work for me? Who do I like talking to? What do I like talking about? That is a great clue as to what could work for you. And then I think the next thing is, again, there are so many different ways of training yourself up. So the organisation that at Career Returners, we offer, you know, we partner with employers. There are many, many different options, even within what we do for returners. And I'm sure there are people listening to this as well who are more doing the career switching into a different career, so they're not in that returner camp. But in a returner camp, there is something very different between coming back to what you did before, where there are things like returnships. They're aiming to slot you back in at the same level. There's the, you know, the retraining programs. There's there's various other things in the middle of this and the boot camp. So don't just feel that even if they've got the same overall label, that what you're doing is the same under that. So I'd say do your research, but fundamentally do a little bit of work on understanding yourself and talk to people about the reality, both of the training and what happens at the end of it.
Thank you. So from a practical point of view, so how we bring on returners at Discover, there's probably three ways really. One of them is that we do use a company that's a consultancy company for us. So they invest in the individual. They will train them for sort of 12 weeks, and there's many of these. But then to us as an organization, we take them on as a consultant. So, we pay for them for 2 years and then we convert them. So from getting past all this sort of risk, etc., that's what we started doing, in the fact that the company that brought them on took the risk, they trained them, and we've had real success, and we've had an extremely high conversion rate because of the type of people they are and because of what they do. So that's one access. The other thing we are doing now is supporting sort of free to the user training. So, and I think it'd be very much the type of thing we've gone through. So there's an option that we will have, and we're looking at, to sponsor somebody through this. So it's kind of like you get, like at the highest level, trying to train any courses on JavaScript or any of that stuff. You then go into almost like an academy for them. So they take you through something. And if you're getting on again, then they look and go, okay, we'll support you in almost a year's worth of sponsorship, but there's a role at the end of it. And they know there's a role at the end of it because somebody's sponsoring you as you go through and you get interviewed as part of it. So that's one of the second access point. And the third one for me is be brave. Don't be the person, and I really love that quote around, like, if you're a man, then you've got 60% of it, you're good. If you're a woman, you've the two other bit. Be brave and go, you know what? I want this job, and be very personalized, because it does make a very, very big difference. If you've gone, I actually want this job, not the job with this title from anywhere. I want this specific job. Write your CV to be that way. Sell the positive stuff at the beginning. And I think that the CV checking and stuff as well around what the people listen to would be a big, big gap. But just be brave and apply, because you don't get turned away necessarily because you've got a 3-year gap. Explain the 3-year gap, which is quite obvious, but as long as you've got the skills, people will still listen to you. But apply for the actual role that's in there, rather than just a generic, I'm going to get a job as a Scrum Master, Java engineer, or any of those options as well. So be brave. And they're the 3 ways that we would recruit people in as part of Discover.
I think for me, because I've experienced a lot of ladies I currently mentor, sometimes the process can seem very lonely, and it shouldn't really be. And part of that process also then leads to a lot of ladies lacking confidence when it then comes to job applications and interviews. So what I always recommend to everyone on the practical side is, 1, you need to get a mentor. And 2, you need to be part of a network. 3, you need to reach out to organizations like the BCS, because they will definitely have members that will be volunteering their time, and they can connect you in the right place. Because most of the times we try to solve problems, but someone else has already experienced that and gone before you. So there is no need to try and do it in isolation. So my advice to everyone is just try to reach out to someone. I know sometimes it's a little bit difficult because not everybody have the confidence to actually reach out to people, but just take that little step, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on a network, whether it's a mentor or anyone. Sometimes it could even be someone down your street that actually could connect you with your network or a mentor or something like that. But whatever it is, or whatever process you are, don't do it alone and don't do it in isolation. Try to reach out to someone. Thank you.
I would say if you do decide to go down a kind of bootcamp route, it's really important to find one that's going to work for you, not you working for it. So like you were saying, making sure that there's one that's free. So it was something that I was extremely passionate about when I set up TechSwitch, is that our training is free and we find a job at the end and we pass the cost of the training on to the employer when the person gets a job. Because there are a lot of bootcamps out there who will use you as a way to make money. And I think you know, a lot of those can be really good, particularly if you've got the means to do that. And if you want to learn something really quick and they're very specific to what you want, then great. But realistically, it's your career and you should be doing what is right for your career. So find somewhere where you can ask them, what are the outcomes that I'm likely to have from this? What are you teaching me that's going to be useful for the skill? What are you getting out of this? Is a really important question that you should be asking people like programs and boot camps, because they will be getting something out of it, and it's very useful to find out what that is and how their business model works. And like I think the panel was saying before, if you're interviewing for a job, you can effectively interview the interviewer to make sure the job is right for you. Do the same with boot camps and with programs and any return schemes to make sure that it is working for you and what you want from it.
Brilliant advice. Thank you all. Now we're kind of hitting at the end of our time, but I would love to give the opportunity to ask some questions to the audience. Just a sneaky little look to make sure no one's going to give me evil looks about that. Excellent. So there's a question over at the back. I'll repeat for you. Yeah, question from a returner. I'll just repeat for people online. So he's wondering whether he should disclose a period of illness when he's returning to work and if that would count against him and if it's a risk. I'll hand to Julianne.
We always say it's really important to simply explain your career break, because the biggest concern from recruiters is if there's just a mystery gap on your CV and they don't know what happened. But just explain it really simply and exactly as you said now. Have a career break section on your CV on an application form. Put, you know, this is the reason for it was, and it sounds like a combination of health related and maybe caring responsibilities and state, and now I'm recovered and excited to get back into the workforce. That can come on your profile, that can come on your LinkedIn page. I always feel it's better to be honest. I mean, totally appreciate, we have many returners on our network who've had really painful experiences. It's not, we're not asking people to dwell on those, but it's just label them in a way that feels comfortable for you. Get really comfortable with telling your story. And I think this is one of the hard things. If you've had a very straightforward career break, it's like, I've been looking after my children, fine, you say it, no problem. If it's more complicated or it may be health related, often people are a bit nervous, they're a bit apologetic, they're a bit defensive. You need to practice telling your story and just integrate it. Talk about all your fantastic experience before, these transferable skills, the fact you've had your career break, what you've built up, the general skills you've built up, maybe the training you've done in that period, and what you want to do now. And practice that with people until you feel comfortable and you feel confident, because that gets past this block, which is more in your head a concern. If you say it really comfortably, you're absolutely confident about it, it won't be a problem.
If I may just very quickly, 2 points. One, it is not a crime to be ill. Okay, it can happen to absolutely anyone. Just accept it and just try to then accentuate the positives. So whilst I was indisposed or whilst I was on leave, I was able to read this, I was able to watch that, I was able to upskill on this. You can always turn a negative into a positive. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I was just going to echo that. So I have a disability and I know how scary it is to talk to employers about illness or long-term leave off for those sorts of reasons. And it is, just to echo those 2 points, it is so much better for you as well if you get comfortable talking about it, because then it reassures them. It also reassures yourself, because I think after something like that, often you can think, oh, maybe this is going to be a problem. Maybe they think it's going to be a problem. And a lot of the time it is just about reassuring yourself and knowing that you know where you stand, you know what's going to happen. And by telling them as well, if there is a problem again in the future, it's going to be so much easier to talk to them about it. And that just, yeah, makes everyone's life easier, including yours. So, yeah, but it is terrifying, I will admit, you know, I know.
So I think we've got time for one more question. I was going to say, should we move to online, because in person we'll have some networking, and I hope everyone's sticking around. You may have a chance to ask them as well. Do we have any questions from online? Yeah.
Thank you. So Gabrielle has asked, I think it was to you, Sasha, where can we get resources for UX specifically?
You're going back in my career a little bit there. So there's quite a lot of free online courses that you can take, which are really, really useful. I also found with UX, actually, you can dabble with it quite a lot. And I really think a thing I found really useful when I started out with it was looking at apps or websites and trying to figure out whether it was good UX, first of all, how you would maybe do something differently, why they might have done something the way that they did. And you can learn a huge amount from just looking at all these different things. And you start to realize that there are patterns in behavior and patterns of thinking that you can see across all of these different apps and how they're trying to get you to interact with them. That is just actually really useful and can then be applied to lots and lots of different things. So yeah, like I said, I got into this, it was about 8 years ago. So I'm probably a little bit out of date, but that was really, really helpful for me.
Would any of the panel like to add any final thoughts? Let me wrap up at that point, so we've got time for a break, get some more refreshments, comfort break. But thank you very much, Sasha, Teo, Mark, Julianne, and Alistair. Brilliant discussion. Thank you. Excellent. All right, I have fresh batteries, and we're ready for our final panel, which is to meet some of the returners themselves who've successfully made the switch and started a new career or returned to their career in tech. So I would like to welcome, excuse me, sorry, having to read your intros. We have Karina Lau, who's a software engineer at Deployed and a graduate from TechSwitch. So welcome, Karina. And Sam Booth, who's next to me here, who is a technical business analyst working with Schroders and a graduate from Sparta Global. We have Yin Cheng, who's a business engineer at Zurich Insurance and also a graduate from TechSwitch. And Shavana Penalda, who's a software developer at And Digital and a graduate from Coding Black Females Coder Bootcamps. So welcome to all of the returners. So this is going to be a more fireside chat-like conversation. We'll just have a chat and learn a little bit about everyone's journeys into the tech workforce from their previous careers. So let's just go in turn. If you could all introduce yourselves, say a little bit about what you're doing now and how did you get there? So should we start with you, Karina?
Hi. Yeah. So my name is Karina. I'm currently working as a software engineer at Deployed. And yeah, my tech journey started like around 2 years ago. So I came from a chemical engineering background. And then after I got married, like I had a bit of a career break accompanying my partner to New York City. And then when we moved to London, I found myself as a crossroads. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do next. And when I was browsing the internet one day, I came across the TechSwitch program. And like I looked at it and it seemed a little bit too good to be true because it's training for free. And in addition, they kind of help you transition to a role in tech as well. And I recall this trying to find, you know, the fine print or the caveats to it. And I was like, really, it's free. As long as you get through the technical stages and the interview, you get there. And I remember speaking to my sister who did a computer science module in Carnegie, and I kind of asked her what she thought of it. And she said, you know, give yourself a few weeks to learn, see where you get with it, and then, you know, proceed from there. And that's what I did. I did JavaScript for like, I think like 3 weeks or so. And then I realized like I kind of really enjoyed the problem solving process and, you know, this thinking and this being able to see my program run. And then I got into TechSwitch and that was like where all my journey began.
That's fantastic. Sam, how about you?
Well, I'm a technical business analyst and I'm working with Schroders. I originally actually worked in construction and I decided this was enough. It wasn't for me. I sort of fell into it and it just got to a point where I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. So I did a bootcamp with the Code Institute initially, where I did a full stack software development course. And I took a year out to finish this course. And when I'd completed it, got my diploma, I went back to construction while I started to find a role in tech. And Sparta are actually a hiring partner with the Code Institute. And I went to one of their seminars or, you know, like a meeting where Al was actually there and he was talking through the program. And I thought this sounds great. So I registered for it and somehow, sometimes I question myself, managed to get through the coding test and the interview. And I think the process took maximum a month. But I think after the interview with Al, I was called 40 minutes later and offered a role as a Java test automation engineer, which I was delighted about. I did not see that coming at all, especially not that quickly, because that's very rare. And so yeah, I did the 10 weeks of training and it was tough. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot of hard work and I put a lot of pressure on myself too, just because it's a new career and I want to do really, really well. And managed to get through all of that. And they found us me a place with Schroders. Now, I trained as a software developer first and then a test engineer second, but I found myself as a business analyst, which is very bizarre. How does it tie in? But it's because of my previous work experience. I was seconded as a business analyst. Well, actually not originally. I was just project coordinating. And I managed to prove myself in that area as a business analyst. And but unfortunately, COVID hit. The company I was working for wasn't winning a lot of projects, so I was let go. And I didn't have the experience I needed to go and find a role as a business analyst at that point in time. So I went through that journey of learning and training and really just pushing myself really hard. I thought I really wanted to be a developer at the time because I'd been working with developers and I thought this is really interesting stuff. Let me learn about it. Let me see if I can do it. But instead I just came full circle back as a business analyst. And I love every minute of my job with Schroders. I mean, it's a lot of pestering. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I'm like, oh, these people must be so fed up of hearing from me, asking them if they've completed whatever task they have to complete. But I've learned a lot. And also I'm very lucky with Schroders because they listen to what I'm interested in, what I'd like to do. So I've let them know I'd like to be a project manager one day as well. And so they're sort of guiding me towards that. So that hopefully at the end of the 2 years of my time there as a Spartan, they'll take me on. So fingers crossed, I still have another 1.5 years to go.
Oh, good luck. What a fantastic journey. Ying, let's come over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ying. I'm a business engineer at Zurich Insurance at the moment. And my journey to tech, how to say, I have been a stay-at-home mother for 20 years. So I had a lot of self-doubt as where can I go after my kids growing up? I had computer science degrees, but I had my children quite early. So after my master's degree, I had my daughter. At that time, I had 2 children. My husband works long hours, so I just think, okay, I have to stay at home. Then 20 years passed. During that time, I was still very passionate about computer science, about technology development, but time and time again, I told myself off. I just said, come on, forget about it because it is for young guys. And this is an industry that things happen so fast. So many things have changed since your graduation. So why don't you choose something else? I have been doing volunteering to different charities and also doing part-time jobs. But I think there's still some, nagging feeling inside me. I want to try something in tech. So there was a time that I tried to convince my daughter to take computer science GCSE. And I bought her a Python book. I just said, "Hi, look at it. It's really not that difficult." And I ended up reading it. And when I had more time, I looked at online courses. Many of them are free. So it's very easy to just get on and try your hand. I found, wow, it was so interesting. And I could do things, even though 20 years on, the fundamental things were still the same. And I can still recall, oh yes, I sort of remember that. So I learned, then one course led to another. I picked up a bits here and a bits there, until one day, my friend told me that she got a returnship from the Women Returner program. So why don't you go on the website? There are many opportunities just to have a look. So I went on and I saw TechSwitch. It really is like too good to be true because it's completely free and they will try to partner you with the business. So I applied it immediately. Yeah, 12 weeks of TechSwitch bootcamp was a lot. It was very intensive. We learned a great deal. I think my previous experience of self-learning online definitely helped. And we have a very good community, my cohort. We are all returners. We are all very enthusiastic about our career switch, and we're determined. And at TechSwitch, we have great support. We had instructors and then we had mentors. So it has been a great journey for me. And then, yeah, I got a job. Now I'm a business engineer. I really, really like my job every day. It's just no 2 days are the same. We're always problem solving. And yeah, I'm really, really glad. And I really wish that anybody who wants to take a tech route and just give it a go, because you really, really don't know. I've been staying at home. I never thought that I would be working full time. So here's my story.
Oh, congratulations. Shav, let's hear yours.
Hi everyone, I'm Shavana, and by the way, the stories that I've heard is really inspiring from all three of you. Yeah, I'm Shavana, or you could call me Shav. I'm now a software developer for And Digital, which is an IT consultancy. Before that, I had a financial background working for Lloyds Bank for the past 5 years, whilst I was doing a part-time degree in French and Spanish. So I also have a linguistics background as well. And during that time, I knew from the get-go finance was not for me. The corporate world was never for me, and particularly because I'm also neurodivergent. So coming from that perspective, there was a lot of masking as well. So I knew that life wasn't for me. And when it came to the pandemic, so like during 2021, I would say, I used that as an opportunity for me to go back to the drawing board and think, what do I like doing? What did I love doing? And I knew from a child, I loved tech. I love computers. I love playing games on them. I loved everything about them. And I said to myself, oh yeah, maybe I could do something in tech, but what can I do? And I basically did Googling. I did a lot of Googling, and I came across one 3-week course just to dabble into it, see if I liked it, with She Codes originally. And that was 3 weeks, but it was also paid as well. And I did JavaScript, mainly front end. I enjoyed it, but I found it very lonely, particularly that it's online and you're only looking at videos and you're doing the course. I find it very, very isolating. So I was like, oh, I like what I'm doing. So let's see what other things I can do to enhance what I like doing. So I looked into a community called Coding Black Females, and they were doing a full stack development bootcamp, which was 30 weeks. And they were literally applying for their second cohort. And I said to myself, oh, this is perfect. There's actually people like me that are not only founding this and running this, there's actually going to be people like me with the same mission that want to get into the industry. So what I ended up doing was I ended up applying. It was very much like they offered free coding courses such as like Code Academy, which was great. 'Cause then I found out, oh, there are free courses out there. I just Googled the wrong one. So I looked into Code Academy. So they said upskill on that and train on that. We'll give you a little test. It's like a take me home test. And I thought, oh, brilliant. I'll more for take me home tests. So I was like, that was great. And I managed to not only speak to the founder of the project, who is Charlene Hunter, by the way, amazing woman. Also, I got to speak to my potential instructor as well. So I told him like my reasonings why I wanted to go into tech and the background that I have. And I was very confident in like the soft skills that I had would be able to give me a space and room in a space that was quite male dominated, but at the same time, I didn't feel quite, I don't know if it's because I was surrounded by a community that was exactly like me, where I felt the confidence, where I was like, I want to be in a space to give a different perspective. And it doesn't have to be like a full stereotypical guy in a basement doing coding and everything like that. Like there are people out there that have that skill to actually transfer the industry to make it better. And I got onto that course along with 39 other women as well. And it was based in the evenings, which was really handy because there were also mothers as well that wanted to transition into tech, and 2 evenings in the day, 2 evenings in the week, they're able to spend that time to upskill, as well as those that are in full-time jobs as well. So the boot camp that I was in, not only they provided childcare, they provided you laptops, they provided you counseling, and it was, when I say funded, they were literally giving me money to study. And I honestly, I was just thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe what I was listening to and what I was hearing. And to the point where I felt very, very lucky, to the point where I was like, luckily in my circumstances, I was living at home. So I was like, I can quit the job that I actually hate doing and just actually learn what I really wanted to do. So whilst I was basically being paid to study, I was able to quit my job and actually be engrossed in the boot camp, which was, again, a huge, huge, huge blessing. The boot camp was full stack. So there was JavaScript, React, Node, MongoDB, and we also had like 2 weekends, like two weekend days where we were doing Python as well. So we had a little bit of an insight in the data sort of world, which was really, really interesting as well. And yeah, and from there, the bootcamp also gave us, so not only they would enroll us and basically look after us, they provided us mentors. And the companies that sponsor Coding Black Females were also present when we would do demo days with our projects. So we will have like a final project to do. And in that time, there's just one day where it's a demo day. So we would actually present what we built. And there was no context in what we built as long as we did the following tech stack. And the companies that were there were actually and it was all virtual as well. So it was very accessible, which again is amazing, not only for mothers, but also those that are working as well. And also it guaranteed you a job at the end of it, because I think at the time with my cohort, they were sponsored by GCHQ, and some people were actually got jobs at the end of that as well. And it's optional as well if you wanted to go in or not into that industry or not. And if you didn't want to, there were also sponsors that Coding Black Females have for you to be like, oh, they're doing an interview. We can do give you interview prep as well as looking through your CV. So we were very, very, very lucky. And now I think they've branched into they've got a return tech bootcamp, which is specifically for returners. And they've also got an entry to tech as well for those like myself that are switching into tech as well. So, yeah,
Wow, what wonderful, inspiring stories from all of you. I'm sure though that the journeys were actually quite fraught along the way, you know, trying to make some of these tough decisions and working out where to go. What were some of the challenges that you faced? Sam, shall we start with you?
Okay, one of the challenges, well, there were many, I suppose, because when you're learning something completely brand new, how do you decide where to start? And what bootcamp, what kind of learning do you go for? And I think that was one of the biggest challenges for me, just because there is so much out there. And the reason why I initially actually went for Code Institute, even though you do have to pay for the Code Institute's courses, is that they do have a careers team. And that for me was key, because I knew that I'd need that support finding work at the end, because it's a very tough industry to break into. And like I said, they're a hiring partner with Sparta, so I wouldn't have, well, I wouldn't say I wouldn't have, but I may not have found Sparta without them. And I had seen a load of other, when I was looking for work, other consultancies such as Sparta, but as everyone said, you train for free, and then if you don't finish or if you don't stay in your role with the company they place you with, you have to pay them back. And I just really didn't want that. I'd seen that with a company before, and I at first I was just like, no, this is not what I want. I want to go into a business. So without Code Institute, I wouldn't have considered Sparta anyway. And then also it's just how vast what you can learn is. I mean, even with the work that I'm in right now, I'm doing server migrations with the infrastructure team. And then I'm also working with the AWS team with the landing zone migration. But then I'm also helping another information security team, making sure they comply with a load of regulations. And this is so vast what you could be working in. So that's a challenge as well, just finding what you actually enjoy. So for me at the minute, I'm just trying to experience as much as possible and find where I sort of fit. Thank you.
I keep playing with my on-off button because we get interference between them. So Karina, shall we come to you? What kind of challenges did you find? Does anything that Sam talked about resonate?
So I think the challenges that I faced during the tech switch was initially, it's like very intensive, very fast paced. And it so happened that most of my course mates in the cohort had quite a bit of background in coding before. For me, I just learned like a couple of weeks before that. And like, so everything was like brand new for me. HTML, CSS, Git, like everything was brand new. And I was just thrown right to the deep end every single day. And I remember like every single weekend, I had to learn a huge topic that I have no clue about. And then just like kind of just have faith that I'll come out alive, basically. And I kind of realized that I really enjoyed it at the same time, because I realized that as I was solving problems, like no matter how hard it was, I spent hours on it, and then like I just like see my program compile and work, and that gave me so much joy that every day I would just be like spending hours on my laptop. I was like literally glued to it. But I realized that I really loved it. And that was, I think I'm so grateful to Tech Switch, because without them, I wouldn't have realized this passion. So I came from a chemical engineering background. I'm used to like really hard problem solving, but it's more like abstract. And when we design reactors and pumps, it's very theoretical, mathematical and things like that. Whereas with coding, even though there are topics that are very hard to understand, but you could just try it out yourself. If it works, it literally works. And you can kind of try to retrospectively understand things as they piece together. And that's what I really love about it, because every single day I'm discovering something new. And it is also a kind of profession that you never stall. You're constantly growing. And for me, I love growth. So I just push myself, and then I get really happy with myself. And also like Tech Switch like also helped me transition to my first role, which I'm very grateful for. And because of the program was so hard and I got out of it, I have this like mental strength now and tenacity that like no matter how hard things are, as long as I have the passion and I really love what I do, that's what matters, because there's no point coming to a job that you hate and just try to like get through it. It has to be something that you really love, and that love for it like will help you continue learning, and that's my journey. Yeah.
Oh, that's great advice. I mean, that love is obviously what carries you through those challenges. Actually makes them very rewarding by the sound of it when you do overcome them.
Yes, yeah. And even now, like I still have a lot of challenges every single day because yeah, I think that's where like the biggest growth comes as well. Like you have to have, if you're like cruising along, you're not growing basically. So you have to put yourself out there, but at the same time, you have to have faith that you will get there. And sometimes like it takes time, because like initially when I joined the bootcamp, everyone was like quite good at it because they had quite a bit of background, and you kind of feel like, oh, maybe I'm disadvantaged because, you know, I have to learn so much faster. But I think you're on a journey yourself. As long as you're like better than yourself yesterday, that's all you need to worry, because everybody has their own journey and you just got to be focused on your own journey. Yeah.
That's great advice. Shab and Ying, I'm going to ask you both a different question. So we have some other topics to talk about. Did you find any unexpected benefits as you were going through your transformative journeys? Give you a moment to reflect on that before you answer. Ying, would you like to go first?
I just find that this Tech Switch 12 weeks journey really, really challenged really pushed my boundary and put myself out of comfort zone every day. So after that, I find that I was ready to face new things, to learn new things on the go, and just not be worried about it too much, because a new job just, I'm as a DevOps for Zurich Insurance. We're looking after 25 applications. And when I initially get on the program, my job is to fix the bugs. And 25 applications, we will have incidents coming in every day with different application, and I need to open them, understand it, and understand what the problem is. So I think because of the Tech Switch bootcamp, that we're always learning new things on the go, and just try to get into the bottom of the issues, the bottom of the problems, just to try to push ourselves very hard onto it. And I think that really prepared me well. So yeah, I think that is something really benefited myself. Also to have that positivity, because often I had a self-doubt. Am I really fit for it? But I think that bootcamp really boosted my confidence in it. I really think I could do it. Of course, I did have a great deal of support in the bootcamp and in my current job. And that really helped me just continue to build my technical skills and build my self-confidence. Yeah, so I think that is what I found really beneficial in this journey.
Yeah, I think that's something that people struggle with often, isn't it? Is the self-confidence, you know, can I really do this? Are people going to take me seriously doing it? And actually coming through to have learned that and experienced that and actually have that contribute into your career is fantastic. Yeah, well done. Shav.
For me, I'll be honest, when I went into this sort of industry, coming out from an industry where I had to talk, I was just like, oh, I don't want to do any talking, I could be a software developer. But instead, that's turned into a more of a 360 for me, because I'm at a point where I just can't shut up at times. Because there's, for me, I'm definitely putting myself out there, particularly like getting myself out of my comfort zone. This sort of industry has given me like literally a sense of purpose in my career that I've never had throughout my whole employment sort of years. I actually felt a sense of purpose, like particularly with the soft skills and speaking to people, because like within consultancy, you need to be talking to your clients, particularly if they're doing something and you see there's a better way, an effective way of doing that can help them and maybe save them a bit of money. I'm not afraid to just actually address that to them obviously in a professional way, to give them that option. And at least if they don't want that option, that's fine, but at least you've given that option to them. And I think at the same time, another thing is because of for people like me, like women like me, lack of representation, I feel like I keep on saying purpose because I do feel like it's a purpose for me, because I know I didn't have representation other than coding Black females. Like that was my community, and community is really key, particularly if you're, let's say, trying to get into the industry and there's a community of people that look just like you that can get you there. I think that's key, because I believe that's how you thrive, because that's how I thrived. And when I do things such as like, I've gone from advocating myself, which is something that I'm not good at, I've never been good at doing, like imposter syndrome is very real for that. But I've gone from advocating myself, but also advocating for whether it's young women or women coming into the industry, for them to see my face, or at least my face. They could be like, oh, there's someone like me that has a similar industry, like similar sort of squiggly career, or someone that's, oh, maybe someone that they can think, oh, this person has connections, and see if I can get in a similar community. So just talking about particularly women in tech, and also I do a lot about retaining women in tech. It's all good about trying to bring women into tech, and particularly women of color into tech, but it's all about retaining us in the industry. That's key for me. And if I can be, whether it's a sounding board or just a face to be like, here I am, something like this, like I'm a hermit, I'll be at home. I would really be at home, but something like this, I just think, even if there's someone out there and sees me and thinks, oh my God, there's someone like me, maybe I can reach out to her afterwards. Reach out to me afterwards. Get my LinkedIn and reach me out afterwards, because that's what I want to do. I want to bring people like me into this industry, because there's a lot for us as well to come into this great space and also provide our input. So yeah, just me not stop talking really. it's for me.
Oh, thank you, Shav. No, I mean, talking of stopping talking, I'm going to stop talking because I'm sure that all of you have got a lot of questions. So I'm going to skip the rest of my question sheet and hand over to you. Has anyone got anything that they would like to ask? We have a question here at the front. I'll just repeat the question so people online could hear. It was, how do you figure out what course, what language, what line of coding, so on, you would like to go into?
I think that's a really good question. I think at first for me, I knew, well, when I dabbled into it, it was just front end, and I was just thinking, I didn't want to be pigeonholed. And it was just pure, when I say pure luck, I mean like with Coding Black Females, the only boot camp at that time, it was just a full stack development boot camp called Black Coder. And from there, because it was full stack, I was like, I'm now dabbling in other things, not just JavaScript and HTML and CSS. And on top of that as well, there was a point even long after doing the boot camp, I was like, I enjoyed what I'm doing. I like what I'm doing, but I don't know what particularly I wanted, what industry or what area I wanted to do next. So that's when I started looking into consultancies, because at least I would just be, let's say, thrown in into one not only one sector, but also another new tech stack language. So like there's been points where now I'm doing Java, which is something that I didn't do in the bootcamp, which I'm now working on, which is Java, and that's in the ed tech industry as well. And there's been points as well where I did databases mainly, as well as I did actually do a little bit of UX design, a very little bit of UX design for a charity, a pro bono charity as well. So having that sort of exposure to different sectors and different tech stacks, and also different things, because I did do a bit of PA sort, not when I say PA, I mean like business analyst sort of things. And I was just like, oh my God, this is not for me. I don't know how you guys can do this. But at least I had that sort of little bit of experience to at least tap in and try it. And if I didn't like it, I can just move from it and then move on. So yeah. I know I'm saying it's mainly my job, but it really was my job that helped me. But also alongside of that, I think there were also people in my community that did different things. And I know that during my boot camp on a Friday, every Friday evening, there was an empowerment session that they call it. And there'll be people, whether it's just like us or it could be like someone like Joe, that will just come in and have a talk about their industry and what they do. And that also gave us a nice little insight to what we liked doing, even though we weren't doing it at that time. So
yeah, so it sounds like you did a lot of work to really keep your options broad, meet a network, meet a community, find work that would let you work that out. Has anybody else got anything that they'd like to say about how did you work out what your path was going to be? All right, Ying.
Yeah, I think when I was learning on my own, I just opened up some online programs and dab into it and see how I felt about it. Yes, I learned the front end, also the back end. Then I thought, yes, the full stack development. Initially, that was my goal. I wanted to be a full stack developer. And so TechSwitch really prepare you for that. But when the job opportunity came as not in a, we traditionally say high coding, but we are doing in Zurich Insurance, we use this platform called low code platform. It's called Mandix. Initially, I had no idea what it was, and I Googled it. We talked about it. I talked with my TechSwitch mentor. So yeah, I decided to give it a go, no matter what. People, I remember some of the people thought, well, I don't want to do low code because it seems like you just click and make things happen. It's not really coding. So it wasn't for me. At that time, I was like, I went to the interviews. We actually had very technical interviews. I also asked my interviewers what their background was because, yeah, what makes you become a low-code developer? Because it seems like you're not doing what you're supposed to do. But in the end, actually, now I'm into it, I find, okay, this so-called low-code developer is really quite misleading. they really looked after, the platform really looked after the nitty-gritty of the software engineering. So a lot of things you don't need to think about. But there are still a lot of things you need to think about. And this problem-solving skills is same. And a lot of times we are dealing with the back-end, the logic issues, when the business requirement came, they wanted to develop this application to meet their business needs. And we need to really analyze what the business requirement is, how we are going to solve that, provide the solutions for them. And then we will go on to develop it and test it, deploy it for them and refine it constantly. So this is completely, to me, it is nothing like a little gimmick. It's a proper business solution for them. The better side of it is, the advantage of it is the low-code platform really streamlined the process. So make the whole life cycle of the software development faster. But it didn't take away the key decisions you need to make. If you're a software engineer or developer, the key decision you need to make is not which language you choose, which new platform you choose. The key decision is how do you solve the fundamental problem? This fundamental problem is for you to think through, to analyze. So your problem-solving skills need to be developed and applied to here. And today, maybe you are using JavaScript. Tomorrow you might use C#. It doesn't matter. And the new language come up, a new platform come up. But the fundamental skills you need as you go to any tech industry, any role you are taking, is this problem-solving skills. So they're all the same. Yeah, so what I want to say is you probably, of course, you need to think which one I want to tap into first. There are so many choices, but just go into any one. And yeah, just stick with it. And don't do the scratching the surface thing, like I do a quick thing and I'm done. I think no matter what language you're doing, when you go past the first few, the foundations, the beginning part of it, you go deep into it, they will all converge in the end. They will all require the same sort of skills. So just don't only stay on the surface, and then tomorrow you might hear that, oh, actually, doing C++ would be better for me. Then you go jump onto that, learn a new sort of syntax altogether. It might not help you. Stick with one and just see how you could use it and to apply it to solve the real life problems, because technology is really about, you use tech to solve real life problems. It doesn't matter what language you use. And with AI, you probably, and a lot of it eventually, we were just joking about it because with the GitHub Copilot and a lot of things that for a software engineer to develop, they used to spend significant time, and now with the Copilot, it's very fast for them. But that will not take away your problem solving. It is still key. So develop that.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Focus on what problems do I want to solve. And actually the skills you learn from a lot of the languages will feed into how do I solve problems. Do we have time for one more question? Oh, Andrea's saying no. Well, in which case, I'll say a very big thank you to our panel. So Karina, Sam, Chad, thank you very much.